Hello, thanks for tuning in to our Prairie Raven Zine video blog. Today we're sitting with Shawn Dooley, who is the founder of the Grue Gallery. So Shawn, why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
I am Shawn Dooley. I guess you said I founded the Grue Gallery, which I make creepy little artwork and sculptures and stuff like that. I have a Facebook page. It's not that hard to find. It's Grue Gallery, Facebook Grue Gallery, and Instagram is where I put a lot of my stuff. And Instagram, I think, is a better medium for, or a better platform for artists, I think, as at Grue Gallery. And I have a website, gruegallery.com.
First question, when and how did you discover your love for your art?
I've been drawing since I was a kid. I always used to just draw with a pencil. That was it, just pencil and paper. I really didn't use much of anything else. Color intimidated the heck out of me. But yeah, I always drew monsters, aliens. I was big into sci-fi and fantasy when I was a kid. It was around junior high is when I discovered an interest in like little more darker genre horror movies. I always liked the Godzilla, the kaiju movies, and the classic horror films like Frankenstein, Dracula. I always loved those, but it was then when I started getting into more of the contemporary, and it was because of I had a theater class in junior high. I was not into theater yet.
Oh.
I think this class was just seemed like an easy class. I have to confess.
It's the good old bait and switch.
That's
you know?
right. That's right. I didn't really get into theater until after I graduated high school, and I even had a theater class in high school. But we did a play. It's called Dracula Baby.
Oh, fun.
It's a horrible show. It's a musical comedy. It's ridiculous. But my friend and I were charged with doing the makeup effects for the Wolfman and the Frankenstein creature, the forehead and the snout. Neither of us had ever done anything like this before, so we got a crash course in that, and I said, this is really cool. I love doing the sculpting, learning to make molds and that type of thing, so I had an interest in special makeup effects. But I realized I like doing the sculpting and making just straight art and monsters and that type of thing. So at 98, I did my first horror convention. It was in Pittsburgh. It was called Monster Bash. And so I started sculpting some skulls and little different things. I didn't have a lot. And they turned out okay. Not bad for somebody who really had no idea what I was doing. Making molds for that type of thing, I'd never done before. I had no clue. So this is all just trial and error. And there was a lot of error. So much
You're so
error.
humble.
So much. But I like doing this. And I got away from it for a long time, but I think a lot of it is lack of confidence. I did graphic design and drawing and a few things here and there through the years, but nothing consistently. It was until about 4 or 5 years ago, and I got back into doing the conventions and got back into sculpting, and I think I'm a much better sculptor than I was back then. And then I started getting into painting, and you start approaching 50, and you realize I gotta do it now if I'm gonna do it at all.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm running out of time.
Well, better late than never, right?
Yeah.
So this is a nice segue into what do you deem is your favorite and greatest artistic achievement?
Artistic achievement is finally doing it on a regular basis, doing it consistently, and not just, I'm going to dabble in it for a while and then maybe I'll pick it up again a couple years later, but finally realizing I want to do this. This is fun. I enjoy this. It brings me joy. I'm going to do this on a regular basis and do as many shows as I can.
I love that definition of an artistic achievement. I really do, because I actually just had a conversation with a girl who was denied admission into an art school. And she completely gave up her art.
Oh, no.
I know. It was so sad.
And it's so hard to tell them, no, don't give it up, because I've kind of been there too.
Yeah.
I've got my insecurities and the lack of confidence that I was like, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Who do I think I am?
So, what is your biggest challenge as an artist?
Getting out of my own head is getting, as I was talking about, the insecurities. Thinking about things I want to do, and then the little voice in my head starts saying, you can't do you're not going to be able to do that. That's way over your head. That's out of your league, and it's getting past that. And you also have to decide, what am I doing this for? Is this just for the money? Because stop it now.
What is your artistic mentor or favorite artist who inspires you and why?
Well, the first one that got me into the sculpting, it was the makeup effects artist when the makeup effects when I was getting interested in that. First discovering that, it was Tom Savini. He did the makeup effects for the original Friday the 13th, Creep Show, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, a lot of iconic movies from the 80s, and then later on. If anybody doesn't know what he looks like, if you've ever seen From Dusk Till Dawn, he played Sex Machine. So
that's a good reference.
Anybody who's a horror fan and knows it's Sex Machine and From Dusk Till Dawn, that's Tom Savini. As far as like painting or any other kind of art, H.R. Giger, who designed the alien creature, but he was just a regular artist before that, and then Ridley Scott saw some of his work at a gallery and said, "That's the guy I want designing my alien," and then.
Wow.
The rest is history. He has such a unique style. Yeah. Just a really unique style that I've always admired. I mean, there's several others. I mean, you got Dave McKean. You have, I always like Clive Barker's artwork. He's also a painter. A lot of contemporary artists, but Salvador Dali also.
Oh,
because
yeah, well.
the surrealism.
Oh,
I mean, I think he actually, as far as painters, he was probably my first influence. Art class in high school, my teacher had a book of his, and I was looking through, like, where have you been all my life?
What is your favorite artistic medium, and what are your favorite tools and supplies to use?
It might be sculpting, because you could do so much with it. The 3D, it's so much more than just a flat surface. And I just have a wooden tool that is one of my favorites.
Nice.
I've had it forever. And that's the one I usually go to for a lot of things. I usually use, it's a non-drying clay. It's not a wet clay. I used to use Roma Plastiline, and that got really expensive. And it stinks.
Oh.
It has sulfur, and it doesn't work really well with silicone molding compounds, the sulfur in it. So I've moved to, and it's actually called Monster Clay.
Oh, how appropriate.
And a lot of the, and it is designed for the effects industry, but I use it for a lot of my sculptures. And it's good enough for Rick Baker, so he uses it. So.
There you go.
But I really do like using it.
What is your favorite subject matter to explore in your art?
It's always dark stuff, creepy stuff, monsters, skulls. I always use skulls. I don't know why I'm so fascinated with the shape of a skull. I just am, and I like trying different things with it, and just doing it as straightforward as is, or exaggerating the features a little bit. But yeah, it's always that. I've like I said before, I used to draw monsters all the time, and I still do, and that's just been my favorite subject. I don't know if my stuff gets really super disturbing. Maybe some people may consider it, but I like to keep it still dark but fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I like there to be, I don't know if I could say a little sense of humor, because some of my stuff doesn't really have a sense of humor, I guess. But I like for there to be a sense of fun. I don't want it to just...
If I had to describe your art,
skeeve people.
Yeah, no, if I had to describe your art, I'd say there's that morbid humor mixed with intrigue.
Okay.
That's what I find so fun and fascinating about your work.
Oh, okay.
Is that you can't just look at it and walk away. You end up, if you do that, you're going to take a double take. Because there's more there than what's surface level. And I think that's it. I think there is that morbid humor, and there is some kind of a commentary in your work on whatever the subject matter is that you need to dig a little deeper for. And so you're dealing with several layers of meaning there. So I would say there's an intrigue there too. And that's why it's not just shock value.
Oh, you make me sound so deep.
Well, it's true. Moving right along. Sorry, I'm gonna give you a swollen head, but hey, this will help your insecurity thing, right? That little voice, you'd be like, "I'm intriguing." Shut up.
I think your lens is big enough for my head.
What are you currently working on?
Right now, well, I need to get working on the next project for Art Bar, which is next Friday, and I have a sculpture of a little ornament. I do these little ornaments; they're about that big. Of Michael Myers. Because
Fun.
honestly, it's part of that is because people keep asking me. Some of the stuff I do are iconic characters, which I prefer doing the more obscure monsters, just stuff out of my head. But the iconic characters are appealing too, and they're still fun to sculpt, but they do get a little bit of more attention because people are more familiar with that. So people have been asking me to do Michael Myers, and it's not as easy as you think, because the original mask, there's a lot of characteristics of that original mask, which I'm sure most people know by now, maybe not everybody. It was just a William Shatner mask that they took back in when the first movie came out? 78? Something, I think. Like, it was a Captain Kirk William Shatner mask that they painted white. They wanted something just completely blank with no real characteristics. Painted it white, and then with the sequels they changed it quite a bit, just made it just generic face. I'm like, there are characteristics to that original mask, and people do notice. The real hardcore fans do notice that. So it's been a challenge. It's not just a white mask with hair. So I've been trying to get as close as I can.
Wow. Wow, what an endeavor.
So that's another challenge, I guess.
Who knew that cheekbones were so specific?
It is. It has these. If you look, it has these weird little lumps on the cheek. I don't know how else to explain it, but.
Well, you got your work cut out for you.
Yeah, definitely.
What are your long-term goals as an artist?
I would like to do this on full time, whatever it is I'm doing, and maybe that's a tough thing when you don't have you have this goal, but like, okay, what do I need to do to get to that goal? And I'm not sure yet. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of art shows. I do a couple of the conventions a year. I would like to get to a point where I'm just maybe doing art shows and conventions all the time, and then selling online. My online sales I do better at the art shows than I do online. But I think that's the long-term goal, is to eventually start doing this full time.
Sure. So you say sculpture is your favorite medium to work with. What kind of things do you sculpt?
Oh, I've sculpted, like I said, the little ornaments. I've done a variety of those. One of the first ones I did was Cthulhu.
Fun.
It's a little Cthulhu ornament. That one, it's one of my favorites because it's probably has the most detail. It's sculpting the little tentacles. You got to do this. You got to make little hot dogs, and you got to bend them. That one was a lot of fun. I did a couple of bigger pieces, 2 skulls. One of them is a vampire skull. It has the fangs and then the wings coming off the head.
That's so cool. And
then the other one's a demon skull, which I did both of those back in the early 90s, and these are like new versions of those that I did a few years back. But I redid it, and with a little more detail, a little more character, and that kind of thing. And I've sculpted a couple of masks. I just recently was playing around with some paper mache. Ooh. There's a product called Celluclay, which is basically just paper mache. You just add water to it, and I did a mask, which was interesting. It was meant to emulate the work of one of my favorite artists, Dave McKean, who uses a lot of masks in his imagery, and it was very very distorted and odd looking, and it had little branches coming up there for, like, I guess hair. So I had a lot of fun doing it. There's no good way to wear it. I did not consider that.
Oh no.
Putting it on and actually having to wear it, but it looks kind of interesting.
But it's a great mask for display.
Yeah, yes.
You know?
That display would definitely work on display.
I love masks. I'm really creepy. You can tell they've been
oh, yeah.
moved around, but I love my masks. So I think they're so, like you said, they've got so much character.
Yeah.
You know?
And masks are very old.
It's interesting how that tradition transcended borders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone kind of picked up on the mask thing.
Yeah, you know? They always use masks to represent deities or mythological creatures or just characters.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's what makes them magical.
Mm-hmm.
That they just kind of cropped up out of the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
Which is neat. And you're just keeping that tradition alive.
That's
pretty
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. So I think we covered this, but tell me a short story about an experience that made you realize your passion for your art.
When I decided to get back into it, I mean, that was 2015. That was when I did my first convention. It had been 17, 18 years. I don't know. I'm not good at math, but and I decided I'm gonna make some new pieces and I'm gonna do another convention. And I was almost back to the beginning where I don't remember how to do any of this.
Oh wow!
And not just make the pieces, but I don't remember how to do a convention. So all of these things, and I had a banner, but I didn't know how I was going to put the banner up. Like, okay, I've got this banner. Now what? What do I use to put the banner up?
No.
I didn't research. Maybe I should have researched this. And I remember setting up the table. My wife Kathleen has helped me at all these conventions, and she had to talk me off the ledge because I was freaking out. I was having that. I don't belong here. I don't belong. There are all these people who have been doing this for years. And I just started feeling it. I was imploding, and she just said, okay, let's figure this out. And she got me through it. And I think after that first show, and I started seeing people that were genuinely complimentary about my work. And I thought, okay, I think this is it. I think this is, now that I've calmed down, and I could see a bigger picture here, and that's I think that might have been when I realized, I don't know, maybe that was the time. Maybe it's a culmination of the whole.
I love to hear that you have such a supportive partner.
Yeah, she is. It's amazing. I don't know why. I remember early on when I was first doing the conventions back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we didn't have the house. We just lived in we called it a duplex. I don't think it's technically a duplex. It's a side-by-side. I don't know if that's still but it was not a big place. And she would find these little, and I at the time I made these little rubber thumb finger keychains, which I haven't made in a while. And she would find all this stuff in the kitchen and these plaster pieces and these rubber fingers and body parts all over the place. And 22 years later, she still hasn't left. So.
I love that.
I bet she's been incredibly supportive. It's amazing. I mean, whenever there's a show, she says, do it.
That's awesome. That's so important.
It is.
It helps that little voice to shut up.
If you have somebody who's just pounding you down and not supportive, that just does not help. No. Then you're frustrated in multiple dimensions of your life. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I love hearing stories like that. They make my heart happy. I had to mention my wife, otherwise she'd kill me.
That's fair. Since your work deals with dark matters, I wanted to ask you this question. How do you feel art inspires us to acknowledge our shadow selves? And is there merit we can apply to our daily lives in doing so?
I think it really takes a special person to be able to see the darker art, whatever it is, whether it's a movie or a painting, sculpture, what have you, and realize that there is a darker side of us that's not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're gonna go out and start murdering people.
Right? No.
You know, it's just, I mean, we all have a darker side, and it's there. And it's, you know, don't be afraid of it. Don't go running from it. I mean, I think it also depends on how a person was raised, their beliefs. That a dark side is no. You don't have a dark. That's bad thing. I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, and that was Satan. That was, and the stuff I make now would not have flown in that house.
Right.
I had to get away with a lot of stuff. A lot of my drawings got thrown away because of the beliefs in the home.
No. Oh.
But yeah, I think it's important that you're made aware of it so that you're not afraid of it. Maybe that's a good way to put it.
I like that. If you acknowledge it in yourself, you're not as afraid of it externally.
Yeah.
And you know how to cope with the world we live in.
Right. There you go. And then the world can be a very dark place. And maybe that helps to, like you said, cope with it, handle it a little bit better.
For sure. And I think your work helps people to acknowledge that intrigue. You know, it almost makes them question, why do I like this? I shouldn't logically like this, but this appeals to me, and why?
I've felt that way about other artists too. It's like, why do I like this? I like this a lot. Something about it. I don't know. Or some artists that, maybe I'm not sure about their style, whether it is a darker style or not. It still kind of makes me question and think of things inside of me.
I love that. Introspection. Your work inspires introspection, and Lord knows we need more of that. Anything else you'd like our listeners and viewers to know about you?
I may come across as very quiet and to myself sometimes when I'm in a big public place. A lot of people kind of interpret that as that I'm either maybe full of myself, or that I'm just angry or mean all the time, and I'm just an introvert. But I am approachable.
So if someone wants to come talk to you at a convention, it's cool.
Yeah.
Just break the ice immediately.
Because I may not come and talk to you.
Okay.
I've been in situations where I'll stand next to somebody like I should strike up a conversation with this person, and I just like I don't know. I start to say something and I can't. I don't know what this.
Oh.
And they'll walk away. I'm like, well, blew that one.
Oh. So
my wife is helping me with that.
Oh, good.
She tries to. That's why I need her with me, because we've always said she's the opener and I'm the closer. She's the one that will start. She's a little more outgoing than I will. She will start a conversation with somebody, and I'll end the conversation. Once she started that, now I'm feeling more comfortable about approaching someone.
Oh, that's perfect. You're a dynamic duo.
Otherwise, I just kind of sit there.
All right, so with Shawn Dooley, if you see him at a convention, just break the ice immediately. Just
within reason.
Handshake?
Within
No more than a
reason.
handshake?
Don't like tackle me. Don't just come up to me and tackle me. No physical contact. How about that? No physical contact, and then we'll be good.
That's a good. I feel like that's good advice in
Yes.
general. No physical
A distance,
contact is.
with a distance. You don't have to be right here to talk to me. Right here. This is good. Right about there is a good distance.
There. I like that.
Did that help? Did I think made people want to approach me?
Yes, absolutely. You're very approachable, Shawn. See, now we know what we're getting into.
Okay.
Right? So that works out. All right. Well, you're at Art Bar what day?
Next Friday, which is I think the 4th.
October 4th, Art Bar
October 4th.
at
What is today?
Two Brothers Roundhouse in
yeah.
Aurora.
I think that is the
Yeah,
correct
that
date.
is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes. October 4th.
So it's the
Two
first
Brothers
Fridays
Roundhouse.
every month for.
First Fridays. Well, give Shawn and the Grue Gallery a like and a follow on the Instagram and the Facebook. Check out his website for more information.
All right.
Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you.
Handshake.
Thank you for asking me.
Safe distance.
Handshake.